This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the HP Elite Dragonfly Max. So, you might say, oh, boring business laptops, but HP's Elites have a way of being a little bit sexy. And the original Dragonfly really captivated a lot of those of you who watched that review. I mean, it was super light, it was very premium, and it came in the most fetching yet subdued version of blue. So this time, when HP finally refreshed the line, there is a Dragonfly G2, and then there's the Max, which, despite the name, is not any bigger. There's a couple of add-ons here, which you could probably almost spec out for the regular G2, but you might as well just get them bundled here is the idea, and we are going to look at it now. So what are the differences? With the Max, you get the privacy screen, HP's SureView Reflect screen, included standard, and otherwise it's an option for the regular G2 Dragonfly. And it's their latest generation, and they do get better and better. I mean, they went from when privacy screens first came out to being atrocious. Honestly, you couldn't see it very well either, let alone other people trying to see your screen. And I'll talk a little bit more about the display in depth, but they're getting it right here. Also, there are 4 microphones instead of, I think it's 3 on the G2. You get an additional world-facing microphone because this thing is all about the Zoom calling. The other upgrade is a 5-megapixel webcam instead of the usual 720p. So for those of you who do spend a lot of time video conferencing and you want it to look sharper, well, it's there for you. In terms of the colors and the noise levels, they're still not superb, but it's a noticeable improvement, certainly over a standard webcam, which is typically what you would call a potato cam, yeah? Also, the last thing is the color. This is called a sparkling black finish. Same magnesium alloy casing, same 2.49 pounds, which is 1.13 kilograms, so very light, very rigid, nicely built. But I guess they figure for this is the executive tier, you might want to be a little more low-key, and even that kind of chill but pretty blue might be a little too out there for some executives. I don't know. I leave that one up to you. The G2 starts around $2,000. The Max model starts around $2,400 because you're getting some of the add-ons included with that one. This is a 360-degree convertible. Think of it as the no-bling alternative to the HP Spectre X360. No gold trim, no kind of out there colors, that sort of thing. It supports obviously touch since it's a convertible, but also Wacom AES 2.0 pen, which HP sells, and there are other Wacom AES 2.0 pens on the market for those of you who are note-taking fans. Ports on this are pretty decent. We have 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, one of them you will use for charging, a USB-A port, HDMI 2.0B, a headphone jack. No room for an SD card slot, alas, but there is a nano SIM card slot, which is an ejectee with your finger kind. You just poke it in and it pops out, so no having to go find a paper clip or a pokey tool to get to the SIM card slot. That's cool. So 5G is optional. It's a Snapdragon X55 modem, which of course also does 4G LTE. So this is mid-band and low-band. It is not millimeter wave. As you might guess, that high-resolution webcam also is a Windows Hello IR camera, and there's a fingerprint scanner as well. And you have things like HP's BIOS Protect and recovery tools and all that sort of thing, making it enterprise-friendly, to say the least. And obviously, if you're into that privacy screen and all that sort of thing, you probably care about all the security bells and whistles that this laptop offers. Back to that privacy screen again, it's nominally 1000 nits. Privacy screens are always high nit rating or brightness rating, and that's what they need to do their thing. So you can turn it on and off with the F2 key, but either way, there's always going to be a privacy lens, shall we say. It's an IPS Full HD display. That's your only resolution option here on this 13.3-inch standard 16 by 9 aspect ratio display. But yeah, even if it's turned off, you'll notice that if you go off angle, it gets dim looking. If you go more than about 4 feet away from it, straight back, it starts to get dim. Turn on the privacy screen feature and it gets even harder to see. It's very effective. The way that I would describe it for those of you who do wear glasses like me is it's sort of like looking through corrective lenses where there's an obvious center section where everything is colorful and sharp and great looking, and outside of that range, not so much. If you are sitting directly in front of it, colors are pleasing, the color gamut is good, contrast is actually good, and everything is pretty readable. So I have to say, as privacy screens go, it's great. If you don't want the privacy screen, again, there's the G2. And with the G2, you have the option of a standard IPS display, which has a reasonable brightness level, or a 4K display as well, which might be overkill for 13.3 inches, but I know some of you crave that. That's also IPS. Inside, we have Intel Core i7 11th Gen. You can get V Pro if you want, and Intel Iris Xe graphics. With the G2, you can go i3, i5, i7, so you do have various options throughout the Dragonfly 2021 line. And RAM is soldered on. It's DDR4 low power, and it's fast enough RAM. So you can get it with 16 or 32 gigs of RAM, and you have an M.2 NVMe SSD slot, full height. Get anywhere from 512 gigs to 2 terabytes with the Max model, and that's upgradable if you want to change it yourself or more likely your IT department. Speaking of your IT department, they expect these things to be openable and fixable. So unlike the Spectre line for the consumer and some of the NVs and stuff, you don't have to pull off rubber feet carefully and all that. It just has standard screws on the bottom to make the internals accessible. Performance on this is typical for an Intel 11th Gen Ultrabook, but it's not nearly the leader of the pack. It's a little slower. I would say because they obviously tune the fans and the cooling system, and they have their AI system that can actually detect if it's on your lap and try not to make it as hot and all that sort of thing. It's tuned towards being quiet. This is not a laptop that is going to annoy you with the fan noise, to be sure. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. It's not like, oh my God, this is a useless doorstop or something like that. It's just not going to be at the higher range of what you see in Intel 11th Gen Ultrabooks. But for those of you who value cool and quiet, that it does, certainly. Another selling point on this is the keyboard. The keyboard is to die for. It's not that it's really particularly deep travel. It's not. But it is so tactile and springy and cushy yet firm and all of those things. You know, I think HP has been chasing the ThinkPad line for a long time to up the keyboard quality and surpass them. And I think they finally have. I mean, this is a typist's dream. Trackpad is large, it's good, it's glass and Microsoft Precision, so no complaints with the trackpad whatsoever either. And the keyboard's backlit in white. There is no eraser stick pointer, which HP does on some of their Elites, again, to cater to the ThinkPad crowd who might be switching over. For speakers on this, we have 4 speakers. They are stereo sounding. 2 are user facing, though that's relative to the position you're using it in, being a convertible, yeah? And it's better than average audio, certainly for a 13-inch Ultrabook. It's not going to wow you with its bass, but it's pretty loud and it certainly is clear. And again, the 4 microphones for a better web conferencing experience. The audio is pretty good on this, and the world-facing microphones do help with the noise canceling. The laptop has a 56 watt-hour battery, which is about as big as you're going to see in a 13-inch Ultrabook, and a 65-watt fast charger that can go from 0 to 50% full in 30 minutes. And the 50 to 100% is always slower with laptops, as it slows down the charge and doesn't want to toast the battery. Battery life on this is pretty good. Again, going with the quiet, cool running nature of the laptop, we easily did 10 hours on this, setting the display at 150 nits of brightness and doing productivity, web conferencing, a little bit of Photoshop, those sorts of tasks right there. So pretty decent on that respect too. And obviously if you tried harder or did lighter tasks, you could get even longer battery life. And that's with the 5G module enabled, by the way, which does, you know, impact battery life certainly. Bottom cover here, ventilation. 2 of the speakers are over here under these grills. And to take this off, it's just 5 Torx T5 screws and then a little bit of a pry tool or a suction cup because it does have some pretty strong plastic clips. By the way, HP uses ocean-bound recycled plastics to be good to the environment. It's the underside. Again, magnesium alloy casing, so that's what you got there. And here we have, just like many Ultrabooks, it's mostly battery inside. There's the 2 speakers. The M.2 SSD is under this heat shield cover right over here. We do have the optional 5G module, so there's that with many antennas connected to it. The Wi-Fi card is, however, soldered on, and here's where it is. And there are the 2 antenna leads for it. RAM is soldered on as well, so that's about all you're looking at here other than basic service like cleaning the fans and all that sort of thing. So that's the HP Dragonfly Max. It's back and it's been maxed. And also there is the G2 available for those of you who like blue and don't want the privacy screen or the higher resolution webcam. It's very nice, it's very rigid, it's very well built. It has a reasonable amount of ports, a keyboard to die for, and if you need the privacy screen, it is a very good job. I mean, what are the cons? There's no SD card slot and it's expensive. I'm Lisa from MobileTechReview. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos and hit the notification bell so you know about them.